which is a member of CJEC. And we are all very much looking forward to the community engagement plan that we have ready for this year. I just wanted to point out two things. I sent you all a very lengthy email with which transcribed Dean Erwin Cherminsky, I always say his name wrong, Chemerinsky's interview with Politics in Black with me and Chad Brown. And I really want you all to take a minute to dive into that email testimony because what he explained in terms of Proposition 209 and with regards to lineage being basically the cure for the legal hurdles with regards to the California Constitution and the federal Constitution is very important as you guys continue to discuss the beneficiary class and what that looks like, that you drill down into the level of specificity that's required. And although I understand that there are what I would consider like tiers in terms of time, and when you get into the prison complex, which was sort of a 60s to now thing, there may be a need to widen what the beneficiary class might look like. But I think it's very important that you make those tiers very well defined so that at no point in the future, the freedmen and the descendants of chattel slavery wind up having their beneficiary status diminished under the law because everything is just sort of put together. So those are the considerations I want you all to have. I thank you so much for your work and your time. Have a great session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Friday Jones, for your comments today. All right, Trini, our next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Kaya L. Jones. You've been unmuted. You now have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Task Force. I am Kia Jones, and I am simply a citizen of California, have been for over 50 years. And I want to talk about what I see in terms of business and business ownership for freedmen in California. And as I look around and I see freedmen without business, and my heart breaks because it's clear that we've been excluded and marginalized from business ownership that will employ our own, being marginalized as business owners, being marginalized from obtaining small business loans. Had we not been excluded or marginalized by these institutions and pushed to be perpetual laborers and not owners, we would have financial resources to care for our own, hence the severe homelessness of freedmen in the state of California. I remember seeing charter buses of immigrant investors traveling through the Crenshaw district, taking a good look at us as though they were being shown their economic base and profit centers. This was in the 1990s. Let's fast forward. 85% of the businesses are owned by other groups that resemble the charter buses I saw. There are but a few Black-owned businesses employing Black citizens in our community. Why? This is a result of policies and cultures set forth by the state of California over the course of 50 years and many anti-Black governments. In addition to being excluded or intentionally sabotaged in business, our community has dealt with eminent domain separation from land ownership like Bruce's Beach, freeway construction, new transportation construction along the Crenshaw corridor, where few existing businesses are being threatened by big corporate investors. It seems as though the freedmen community is seen and used as the economic profit centers for every other group. Not only have we dealt with the lack of business ownership, but CIA-driven crack cocaine, mass incarceration, that is broken families, thus our children being raised with minimal income, parenting, and protection. With 40 to 50 years of such policies against us, we are in need and deserving of repair. With proper resources, without interference and sabotage, we will establish our own community and care for ourselves. We have done it before, we will do it again. We demand justice, we demand being made financially whole. After all, it is through our 100+ years of hard work and tax dollars, California is the great state it is today. Thank you, and I yield.
Oh, Ms. Jones, thank you so much for your comments this morning. Trini, our next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Ernest. Ernest, you've been unmuted. You now have 3 minutes.
Thank you, task force members. My name is Ernest Russell, and I'm calling on behalf of the Freedmen Agenda League of Michigan. My comments for today are to touch upon public health and discrimination in technology. I think as it relates to public health, America and its politicians at large has failed since the inception of slavery to assist the descendants of slaves or freedmen in the building of public health efforts for our communities that actually work. What we have seen from the government, though, is direct sabotage. And, that's via the de facto and the jury laws that you guys discussed in prior sessions. Ultimately, the effects of poverty, mass incarceration, the war on drugs, America's foster system, and many other systems are the result of a negligent government. And that intentionally looked the other way whenever Black progress was brought to the forefront of American politics. I urge the task force that as we are venturing with bringing, Black American prosperity to the forefront, that we do not allow any outside parties to steer us or derail us from the focus at hand. As it relates to discrimination in technology, a new study from the Dutch Bank shows that, Black Americans are experiencing what they call a racial tech gap, which could threaten their future ability to gain meaningful employment and grow wealth in a digitized economy. This is according to Dutch Bank's global technology strategist, Abhijit Walia. She indicates that the staggering divide in numbers that we have found when it comes to race, and I say this is when it comes to race, but I'm someone who advocates for delineation and data disaggregation because I believe we can see a true picture of the Black American position. But as it relates to us, she states that the staggering divide in numbers basically puts Black American communities 10 years behind the white community for the last 20 years. She said, combine that with the rapid digitization and automation of the US economy, that gap could eventually mean that the numbers of Black American workers could be disqualified or underprepared for 86% of the jobs in the US by 2045. As we talk about reparations, we need to understand the generational impacts that need to be addressed. And I believe as we venture forward in the future, the year is 2022, we need to look back 100 years ago to 1920 and 1922 and really determine if the position of U.S. freedmen has changed, if any at all, when it comes to socioeconomic progress, in a system at large. I honestly believe that we're still the bottom caste, and I believe that discrimination in technology is a result of improper representation and the deliberate masking of true Black progress in America. With that being said, I would like to, request that the task force considers reviewing data as it is to determine the true positionality of Black Americans who descend from slavery. And I would also request that you guys consider supporting data disaggregation arguments that are being made across the country as a result of getting the true delineation.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you in the middle of your sentence. Thank you so much for your relevant comments today. All right, Trini, our next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Christopher Lodgson. You have been unmuted. You now have 3 minutes.